Ladies and gentlemen, all the people here interested, I'm going to tell you a story. Bear with me. I've written it down so I don't get it wrong. I won't say that I'm trying to get it wrong, but I know what will happen to me if I do get it wrong. There's an awful lot of people with long memories, and I want to make sure that what I say is accurate and correct. Today is a very special day. It's a centenary. Not everybody knows what the centenary is all about, but 100 years ago, 1925, Bampton Morris danced out at Whitsun as usual. What makes this year special is the fiddle that was played that year by Jingy was broken. That's what this is all about. An account of that Whitsun was provided by Thomas Albert Townsend. He died in 2008. A lot of you know him. He was known as Sonner. He was the fool. Dressed silly fool, dressed as a clown. I mean, who'd go round all day dressed as a clown? Now, Sonner had strong family links to Bampton over 200 years. As you'll know the names of the families when I say them, through the Radband and Corlock family. As a boy, he watched the dancers practice in the yard of his father's pub, the Elephant Castle, and he used to join in occasionally. And as he got older, he was really very good. He got quite proficient. In 1925, he wasn't due to dance in the set because they didn't think he was quite old enough, although he was quite tall. He was only 11 at the time, but one of the tanners was ill, so they dragged him in to make up the 6. Now, he had clear memories of that day, and all the details I'm going to give you today have come from Sonny, told to me several times over lots of pints of beer in many pubs. As a boy, he was taking a quiet sort of time during the day. He watched a lot and listened a lot and did what he was told. But he said that the dancing had followed its usual pattern until later on in the day. And then a dispute began. Fancy a dispute in a team. You can't have that, can you? Wouldn't have it now, would it? Right? Wouldn't have now, would it? Where's he gone? He's hiding. Jingy was accused of not putting all the money that was being collected into the collecting box. Now, whether he was or not, we don't know. But the tavern said, well, settle this. And they were big blokes, so they walked out and turned him upside down, so the story goes, and all the money fell out of his pockets. I was going to put it in the box, he said, but it was too late. His fiddle was snatched off him, and the neck was broken off, and it was thrown at the back of the dancing place. He stormed off, and that was the end of the dancing for the day. It must have been about this time of day, I should think. Now, resentment followed, even though they'd mended his fiddle and given it back to him. The following year, when it came to practice time, he turned up without his fiddle, and they said, Jingy, we want to start the practices. He said, I ain't going to play for you this year. He said, you broke my fiddle last year, and I'm certainly not going to play for you this year. Well, we've got to go out. You can't let Bampton not go out at Whitsun. He said, oh, there'll be a team out, don't worry. And for the last few months, he admitted he'd been teaching some boys from other places. He'd done the same some years before, and someone know the story, First World War. Alverstock was taught them dancing. So they actually joined in the team after that. But this team was his team, he said. They were going to go out and collect, they were going to dance. 1926, you won't be out dancing, he told the old team. Well, they were saved by Sonner's father. He, as well as running the land, as well as being landlord of the Elephant Castle, also ran a fruit and vegetable business. And one of his customers, one of his suppliers rather, was a chap up in Ilmington, Sam Bennett, who happened to be a fiddler for a Morris team. So they must have been quite wealthy because they telephoned him and said, can you come down and play for the team? And he said, well, I would, but I am going to transport. So Sonny's father drove all the way up to Ilmington in his lorry and fetched Sam Bennett back. And that year, 1926, there was the old team dancing to Sam, and then the new team dancing to Jingy. The fiddle was mended, so it couldn't have been that bad, could it? Now, from then to now, there's always been more than one team. Two teams for many, many years. And then it became 3 teams. We're not going into that story tonight. You don't know why. As Jingy got older and his deafness came in and he lost his sight a bit, the playing passed on to other players like Bertie Clark, and then Sam Bennett carried on, and he passed his skills on to Arnold Woodley, which a lot of people will know about in the village. Now, Arnold had got into it because he followed his cousin and his two brothers into the team, his brother and his two cousins into the team. And then, for a long time, Bampton Morris became associated particularly with two names, didn't it? Francis Shergold and Arnold Woodley. And that continued for many years. After Jingy's death, about 1953, Arnold took possession of Jingy's fiddle, and it hung on his wall in his cottage. If you've been in Honeymoon Cottage over the years, you've seen it hanging there. Now, I come into the scene now, which is why I've got this terrible job tonight of explaining all this. Some 30 years ago, almost exactly 30 years ago, Arnold was very ill. He got cancer quite severely, and it was only a matter of weeks. But those who know Arnold, he wasn't the person to ask you to do something. He ordered me and my wife to go down and see him. When we got there, he went on with great concern about safeguarding the historic fiddle, Jingy Wells's fiddle, after Arnold's death, imminent death, was going to happen. He knew it was close. He knew how important the story of that fiddle was for Bampton. He asked me because I was archivist of the Morris Ring at the time, and there were plans to put together a museum somewhere to put all these sort of archives in. But Arnold said he would leave it to me and my best judgment as to what happened. He trusted me to do that, and I agreed on one condition, that I would look after it as well as I could, but if I felt it was the right time to return it to Bampton, where I felt it belonged, I would make sure it came back. And I can think of no better time than the 100th anniversary of this story. Can you? I think it is the right time. When this fiddle was broken 100 years ago, it set in motion a fork in the historical road of your team here in Bampton. Perhaps we could share a thought, perhaps we could share the thought that maybe it wasn't a bad thing that the team split into two and then later on into three, because it has invigorated Bampton Morris. I reckon you're here because of that split, because you had the rivalry, friendly as it was, and the competition between the teams. You made sure you won at every Whitsun, whichever team you belonged to, because you worked bloody well letting the others go out on their own. You made sure your team was going to be there as well. So it's invigorated the whole Morris in Bampton. That fiddle is important to your history, which is why it's lovely that it ought to come back and stay in Bampton. May I be brave enough to assume you're all here today, like me, sharing a deep love and a very, very high respect for the Morris. We dancers come and we dancers go, but the dance will go on, hopefully, forever. I think we ought to conclude by hearing what this fiddle sounds like. Now, I have to introduce Nick at this point. Where's Nick? Oh, he's here. I'm behind you. Nick. He's managed to get it working. It was put into good playing order when it was Son Townsend's 90th birthday. Remember, Sonny danced in 1925 when all this was broken. We thought it was nice to have it for that particular birthday. It's laid unused since then, but Nick's got it working again. So, what are you going to play, just so everybody can hear this historic fiddle before it's handed over?
I'll do a little bit of the Forester and a little bit more. And it's very, very fragile, so it's been tuned down and toned for those of you with perfect pitch, all right? So let's see if we can keep it in tune for a couple of minutes.
kind enough to invite Moulton to come, you know what they planned to do? They said, let's buy an old fiddle, and we'll go down, you know, we break it into 3 bits and give it to each team. That's terrible people. Terrible people. Where are they? Over there. Probably not wise. Anyway, who's going to take possession of it? That's the important thing now. Come on, Craig, what are you doing? He was working with all the other teams, I think. Gotta give it to somebody. We'll have it.